Good morning, pet lovers. This is Will Bangura. Hey, if you enjoy listening to the Pet Talk Today podcast, do me a favor, give us a 5-star review. Take just a couple seconds, show us some love, give us a 5-star review. Your reviews make our rankings go higher so that more people can benefit from Pet Talk Today. So please, if you love what we do, the way that you can say thank you to me is by giving us a great 5-star review. Thank you so much. And we need to talk about our sponsor, Calm Dogs. I'll tell you what, if you've got a dog that has anxiety, fears, phobias, stress, reactivity, aggression, you name it, sound phobias, separation anxiety, a fear of other people, fear of other dogs, or aggression towards people and dogs, you are never going to find a natural supplement like Calm Dogs. Go to calmdogs.com. Find out why it is the top leading calming aid throughout the world. There's nothing like it. Again, go to calmdogs.com. Now, on with the show.
Raised by wolves with canine DNA in his blood, having trained more than 24,000 pets, helping you and your fur babies thrive. Live in studio, it's Pet Talk Today with Will Bangura, answering your pet behavior and training questions. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host and favorite pet behavior expert, Will Bangura.
Good Saturday morning, pet lovers. I'm Will Bangura. Hey, thanks for joining me for another episode of Pet Talk Today. We're here live on Facebook every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Also, maybe you don't see the Facebook podcast. Maybe you actually do the audio Pet Talk Today podcast. Hey, do me a favor. If you're a podcast listener, give us a thumbs up. Show us some love, hit that like button, hit that share button. Also, give us a 5-star review if you love what we do. We've got a great show today. If you're brand new to Pet Talk Today, let me talk a little bit about how this works. I'm here to help you deal with all of your dog training and behavior problems. If you've got a question about a problem or a behavior or a training issue that you have with your dog, what I'd like you to do is go ahead and type your question into the comments section below. Type your question in the comments section below. And also, please let me know where you're watching from, what kind of pets that you have. Hope you're having a fantastic week. Hope you're having a fantastic summer. We're approaching, spring. We're approaching summer. Seems like summer already here in Phoenix, Arizona. The weather is getting up into triple digits. In addition to taking your questions today, I thought I would talk about a couple topics. Resource guarding is a huge problem for many dogs and many dog owners. Matter of fact, probably about 20 to 40% of dogs have an issue with resource guarding from one level or another, whether it be to a lesser degree or to a more severe degree. They have a problem with resource guarding. Well, there's a couple things that you need to do when you've got a dog that has resource guarding issues. Number one, you've got to teach them leave it. So we're going to be talking today about how do you teach a dog to leave it. And then also we're going to be talking about how do you teach your dog to drop it. Now, leave it and drop it, they're two different things. Leave it, you're asking your dog to leave something alone before they ever pick it up in their mouth. Drop it, they've already picked up that something in their mouth that they shouldn't have. We're asking them to then drop it. Also, one of the things that you have to have besides leave it and drop it is an emergency recall. You have to be able to get your dog to come to you no matter what when things are crazy. And you need to be able to put your dog on some kind of a stay command. Now, I love using the place command. Some people call it spot. Some people call it bed. Go to your place, go to your bed, go to your spot. but it's a physically defined area where we ask the dog to go there. I like those elevated dog cots. They're elevated about 2 to 4 inches off the ground. When I teach place and I tell them to go to that elevated dog cot, there's only one rule, and that is to stay there. I don't care what they do on the cot. They can sit there, stand there, lay there, do backflips, cartwheels, doesn't matter. They just need to stay there. Think about this, folks. Even if you have the most problematic dog, if you could get your dog to come when called every time, no matter what, no matter the trigger, no matter the chaos, no matter the distraction. And imagine if you could not only get your dog to come anytime, but you could get your dog to go to its bed or go to its place and stay there. And stay there no matter what's going on around them. No matter the distractions, no matter the chaos. If you can get your dog to come to you every time, if you can get your dog to go to place and stay, and those two things are reliable, you can manage just about any behavior problem that's out there with any dog. Because your dog has to either be committed to responding to the command or cue of coming or doing something else. It can't do both. So if you've got a reliable emergency recall, you can call your dog off anything. And if you've got a reliable place or go to your bed or spot and that implied stay is reliable, they've got to stay put. They cannot be doing two things at the same time. They can't be staying on place and running around, going after a person, going after a dog, stealing your items, going to the bathroom in the house. Those two things are great for management. Now, granted, when we've got resource guarding problems, we need to make sure that we're doing counter conditioning and desensitization. If a dog's aggressive, and when we're talking about resource guarding, they think that those resources are scarce. They've got the wrong impression. See, in the real world, in the canine world, in the wild canine world, resources are scarce. So from an evolutionary perspective, resource guarding is normal. Now, through 20, 30, 40, 50,000 years of domestication of the domesticated dog from the canine, little by little, that resource guarding has been bred out. But it's still there. And depending upon each individual dog, breed, character, temperament, it could be lesser or greater. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about leave it. We're going to be talking about drop it. We're going to be talking about emergency recall and how that actually fits in terms of how we're going to be dealing with resource guarding issues. One of the things, I got a question last week. I was not able to get to this question, but I thought it was a fantastic question. So I had the person, what happened to my feed? Whoop, there we go. So Greg asked the question. He says, I have a 1-year-old German Shepherd female. We live on 3 acres, which is only fenced on the highway side. We have groundhogs. And if my dog is off leash, she takes after them and will not come back. I worry since they run to the highway rocks. We live at Rock Island, Washington. Thank you. Well, I guess it's from Jan Brown and not from Greg. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about that. We got a couple of things. Number one, we've got a lot of area, a lot of acreage. That emergency recall that I talked about for resource guarding is an emergency recall you need to be able to call your dog after running after groundhogs. Now, it's the most natural thing in the world. You know, dogs are predators, groundhogs are prey. And when you've got a dog that has high prey drive, it is the most natural thing in the world for them to chase it. So this is not a bad behavior. It's an unwanted behavior. Jan or Greg, they don't want this behavior. and it's dangerous. Their dog could get harmed. So there's a couple of things that I would do. The first thing I would do is I would start teaching boundary training. I would be placing little yellow utility flags all the way around the boundary. But I'm going to place those yellow utility flags about 3 feet from the edge of the boundary. And I'm going to begin walking the dog up to the flag. And then I'm going to be saying, off. And I'm going to run the dog back away from the utility flag, all the while having a great party. Good dog, yay, yay, and giving treats. And then we're going to go back to that boundary where I've got those flags set up around the boundary. Those yellow utility flags, we go back to the boundary. I go off, and we go running backwards, get excited. Yay, good dog, and treat. And we're going to go all the way around that boundary, all the way to the front, all the way around the sides, okay? And we're going to give ourselves that cushion of about 3 feet with those utility flags. And this is going to take maybe a couple months to do. And we're going to keep those flags up, and they're going to be, how close should they be together? Oh, about maybe a foot apart. Yeah, so you might be getting a lot of utility flags. But we need to teach the boundary first. The dog needs to understand where it can go and where it can't go. Now, what you're going to also do is you're going to cross over to the other side of the flag with your dog on the opposite side, on the side you want the dog on. You're going to try to coax and bait the dog to go across those flags. When your dog does take the bait, you're going to use your spatial pressure, your body. You're going to kind of gently but firmly bulldoze with your body into your dog, telling your dog off, 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 pushing your dog back behind the flags. Then you're going to go across the flags again, try to bait and coax your dog to cross that barrier that you don't want it to. And if your dog doesn't take the bait, then you're going to mark and reward or click and reward and high value food rewards. You need to be prepared with lots of tiny little pieces of cooked chicken and having a treat pouch. Get out there. You need to do this about 3 to 5 times a week. You're going to spend about 15 minutes every day doing this. And you're going to keep distracting your dog more strongly to make the mistake, so to speak, of going across the boundary. Only if your dog does, again, off, 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 push the dog back with your spatial pressure, walk in there. Help with the leash if you need to. Now, if you have to help the dog go back behind the flags because it crossed the boundary, you'll get the dog there, but you will not reward the dog. You reward the dog when you're baiting and distracting the dog and the dog does not cross the boundary. And you're working that boundary back and forth and back and forth. So that's one thing you're going to do. The second thing that you're going to do is a separate exercise, okay? You are going to start working on that emergency recall. Now, I'm going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone because we need to talk about emergency recall as it relates to resource guarding, but we need to talk about an emergency recall as it relates to Jan or Greg's dog chasing after the groundhog and maybe getting to the street because that's dangerous. Now, one of the things you're going to do when you're teaching an emergency recall, and we talked about this just I think a week or 2 ago, so you can go back to the last 2 or the last episode. You're going to start by having a special word like Poughkeepsie, like pickle, like sushi. That's going to be your emergency recall word. It's a come command. You're hoping that you're never going to use that emergency recall, but you're going to train it every day. You're going to do 5 repetitions every day. You're going to have high value food rewards, small cut up piece of chicken, small cut up pieces of hot dog, cheese, beef, you name it. You're going to get your dog's attention by giving it one little piece of treat. Now you've got the dog focused on you. You're going to run back 3 steps. You're going to say that secret emergency recall word. I'm going to use the word pickle, and I'm going to drop 3 or 4 pieces of chicken between my legs. And the dog's going to eat that. I'm going to start running backwards a couple steps. As I do that, I'm going to go pickle, and I'm going to drop a couple pieces of chicken between my legs. And I'm going to do that over and over and over. And little by little, I'm going to add more distance. Now, remember, I'm only doing like 5 repetitions a day. This should be like the highlight of your dog's day. This should be the most fun your dog has every single day. And we're only going to do it a few times. It's kind of like, giving somebody one Pringle potato chip. Can't just stop at one. You want more. So we're going to keep the dog hungry for this exercise by only doing it a couple times a day. You're going to start by doing it indoors with little to no distractions. You're going to add distance. As you've added distance and things are going well and you're inside with no distractions, now you're going to start adding some mild distractions inside. You're going to start increasing those distractions in the house until you can get your dog to successfully, reliably come to you each and every time you give that emergency recall with distractions in the house 90% of the time or more. Then you're going to start going outside doing this on property with little distractions. Then outside on property with distractions. Then you're going to go off property, no distractions. Then you're going to go off property and start adding distractions. Again, you never want to use the emergency recall. It's truly for an emergency. Every single time you say it, you've got to know your dog is coming into you every single time. If your dog doesn't come in when you say your emergency recall word, you have been working this too fast, too soon. You need to slow down. You need to back it up. But we can use that to stop a dog when it comes to resources. We can use this as a dog is chasing after something. Okay. Now, the groundhog is really high value prey for the dog. What would be lower value would be throwing a ball. Okay. Most dogs are much more interested in chasing the groundhog than they are a ball, especially if the ball is moving slowly. Okay. Now, one of the things that I do is I teach a recall and a call off, basically, where I'm rolling a ball. And as soon as the dog is moving and going towards the ball, I call the dog back to me, and the dog gets a ball. So I've got 2 balls, and I've got about a 15, 20, 30, 40, 50-foot long line on the dog. I roll the ball just a little bit, and as soon as the dog starts moving towards the ball, I start running backwards. I'm like, come, or here. Now, I throw that ball far enough away that I know the dog's not going to be able to get to it. And as soon as the dog starts moving, I'm calling the dog back to me. As soon as the dog starts running towards me, I'm going to click and reward or mark and reward. And when the dog gets to me, it's going to get the ball. It's going to get a high-value food reward. And we're going to play that game. I'm rolling it a short distance. I'm rolling it slowly, calling the dog back to me before it gets to it. And little by little, I'm going to roll the ball faster. I'm going to roll the ball further away and keep calling the dog back to me. But you better make sure that your reward when the dog comes back is just as good, if not better. And it should be better than what your dog's having to give up. Now, you've got a mix in between these repetitions. Sometimes you're throwing the ball and you're letting your dog get it and you're playing with the dog and the ball. Matter of fact, about 80% of the time when you throw that ball, your dog should be able to get it and play with it. What we don't want the dog to think is every time we throw the ball, it can't go get it. It's going to have to stop and come back to you. And if that's your pattern, if that's what you continue to do over and over, the dog's going to just stop running towards the ball. So if you run into that problem as you're doing this work and you go throw the ball and the dog doesn't want to chase after it anymore, just know you're calling the dog back to you way too much and not mixing up enough play. And the dog doesn't understand that, hey, there are times when I can chase. There are times when I can play with that ball. Now, for dogs that have really, really high prey drive, teaching them to go to their place, teaching them to go to their bed and doing distraction work there where you're maybe, tossing toys around and they've got to stay on their place. You throw a toy, the dog wants to chase, but place, you put the dog back on. No reward. Throw a toy, the dog doesn't come off a place, mark and reward, click and reward, big time jackpot. Teach the dog the black and white cause and effect of, hey, when you stay on this cot, when you stay on your bed, when you stay on your place, especially when there's distractions, wonderful things are happening. I'm feeding you high value chicken. This is great. If you choose to come off and take the bait of a distraction, I'm going to put you back on there and there's not going to be a reward. That's your consequence because you weren't supposed to come off until I released you and gave you permission. When you've got a dog that has a resource guarding issue, you want to teach the dog if it has something that it shouldn't have in its mouth to drop it, to come when called, to go onto its place or bed or spot and stay. And when that dog is committed to staying, then you walk over to that object that the dog was guarding, and then you pick it up, put it away, and you give your dog something else that's more valuable. Don't try to steal things from your dog when they are a resource guarder. Don't try to put your fingers in their food bowl. Don't try to get them to give it to you. You're going to get bit. You're going to create more resource guarding anxiety. You're teaching your dog that it might be scarce and someone else might be taking its stuff. Always trade out and trade up when you trade out. And folks, if you'll do this preventatively, you get a brand new puppy, start trading out objects, but trade up when you trade out. And your puppies, your dogs will grow up to never fear that resources are scarce. And, dogs can be guarding food bowls, food, toys, objects, people, other pets in the household, locations. They can guard just about anything. But what we don't want to do is just reach in there and grab it. The other thing we don't want to do is call the dog to us and snatch from the dog what they have, and then they don't get anything better in return. If you keep calling your dog to you because they have something in their mouth that they shouldn't and you keep taking it away, there's going to come a point in time your dog's not going to want to come back to you. You're poisoning that recall. You're poisoning the come command because what's the consequence? The dog comes to you and it loses something it likes. Well, how many times in a row does that need to happen where you call your dog to you, it gets to you, does what you want, but then something unpleasant happens to the dog each time it comes to you because you take away the thing it likes? That behavior of coming to you is going to diminish. The dog is going to say, hey, that's not fun. That's a loss for me. I'm not motivated to do that. Always trade out, trade up when it comes to resource guarding. Now, one of the ways you can begin to teach drop it is to take a toy and to toss it just a short distance. As soon as your dog grabs it and picks it up, capture that behavior, label that behavior, fetch. Your dog's going to drop it at some point. When your dog lets go of the item, label that drop, click and reward, or mark and reward. And then do that again. Just kind of roll a ball. Your dog goes to pick it up. As it picks it up, label that fetch and wait it out. As soon as your dog lets it go, label that drop. Click and reward, mark and reward. Play that game over and over and over. Try to do that 10, 20 times a day, and you're starting to create associations. You're starting to create vocabulary. You're starting to teach the dog that, hey, there's going to be a cue, there's going to be a command that means fetch, and that means you grab something in your mouth, And there's going to be a cue, there's going to be a command that's called drop, and that means you let it go. But right now, until we teach the dog, until we create those associations, with positive reinforcement and make it something that's motivating for the dog's not going to do it. We can't just ask for it. So we create the behaviors so that we can label those behaviors, so that we can reward them, and so that we can do that repetitiously over and over, maybe 10 times a day. And then after a few weeks, we might be able to reverse the process and ask for fetch or ask for drop. Now, when you first start doing this, start with low-value items. And when they do actually drop it, again, just like leave it, call them to you. Don't go grab it. Call them to you. Trade out, trade up. Give them something better. Put them on their better place, then go grab that object. Because if they're committed to staying on their better place as an implied stay, they can't be running off there and going after you because you're getting something they might have been guarding as a resource. Okay? Now, getting back to the dog that was chasing after the groundhogs. You're going to be little by little getting higher value items to throw and call the dog back to you. It's a call off. Between you calling your dog off of objects, between you doing the boundary training, between you working on impulse control with distractions on place, you're going to be in a much better place than where you are. But I'll tell you right now, until the work is done, and you need to be spending 3 to 5 times a week proactively working on this. This is going to take weeks, if not a couple months. You need to have a long leash on your dog, like a 50-foot long leash. You cannot afford to have something go wrong here. You have got to be in charge of this situation. You have got to start teaching your dog engagement and focus, start doing basic obedience exercises, and make this the highlight of your dog's day. Be engaging, be excited, be fun, add play with this. You need to be much more exciting than anything else in the environment, and then you don't lose the focus of your dog. You don't lose that focus. And anybody else that has, similar problems like that, it's going to be the exact same thing. You're just going to do the exact same thing. It just might be maybe they're chasing your cat. Maybe they're chasing a kid going down the street on a scooter or a sidewalk. You never know what it might be. We need to talk about our sponsor, Calm Dogs. Calm Dogs is the world's most effective calming aid for dog anxiety in the world, anywhere without a prescription. Go to calmdogs.com. There's a huge sale that's going on right now, and I mean it's huge. We've got small and medium breed formula as well as the large breed formula. Go to calmdogs.com. The great thing about this calming aid is it comes with a money-back guarantee. Take the 45-day Calm Dogs Challenge and join the Calm Dog Revolution. If you give this to your dog for 45 days and it does not improve your dog's behavior, it's free. You don't pay. You're not going to find another calming aid out there that has a money-back guarantee. You're not going to find another calming aid out there that has the kind of ingredients and the strength and the effectiveness that Calm Dogs has. Take a look at this chart right here. Now, these are all of the top calming aids that you'll find in a veterinary office. And take a look at Calm Dogs on the left. Look at all of the ingredients. There's 95% more ingredients in Calm Dogs than Suliquin, than Vetiquinol, than the Purina Calming Care, than Angzitane, than VetriScience Exposure. You can see everything in green is the ingredients that are in the formulas. Look at Calm Dogs. Compare that to the rest of the formulas the vets have out there. Now, take a look at this. These are the top selling calming aids on Amazon.com. Compare Calm Dogs to Quiet Moments. Compare Calm Dogs to Zesty Paws Calming Bites. Compare Calm Dogs to Pet Naturals Calming and Premium Care Hemp. And also, here again, VetraScience Exposure. Ours comes with a money-back guarantee. You won't be disappointed. Make sure that you go to calmdogs.com, take advantage of this huge sale, and tell your friends about it. Okay, we're back. Let me take a look and see what kind of questions that we have here waiting in the queue right now. Again, if you've got a question about your dog's behavior, if there is something that you would like to ask me, feel free to go ahead and type that into the comments section. Lynn, good morning. You're from Glendale. Okay, we got somebody also. Is it Rain Mendoza from Los Angeles? She's got a 2-year-old rescue Yorkie Terrier mix. Hey, we're glad that you're here. Diana, she needs help with her Doberman. She adopted 6 months ago. She's like a roller coaster ride, aggression, anxiety, lunges at cars, people, me, if I correct her, and she resource guards. Well, Diana, you've got a big problem. You know, Dobermans are big dogs. They can do a lot of damage. You adopted this dog 6 months ago. You're telling me that there's aggression and anxiety, lunges at cars, people, and you, and that concerns me that he's lunging at you. You know, usually it's one thing when we look at these behaviors and we ask ourselves, hey, is there a real threat? Is there a reason for this dog to feel like it has to go into fight or flight? Or is there no real threat? When there's no real threat, we're talking about something more neurochemical as a component. It's never the cause. There's always multiple causes to behaviors, but never discount when it comes to aggression, fear, and anxiety that there's a neurochemical component when it's severe. We know for a fact the jury is out. It's definitive. The research, the science, it's in the peer-reviewed journals. Dogs with aggression, dogs with anxiety, dogs with fears, they have abnormally low levels of serotonin and sometimes dopamine, and they've got problems with neurotransmitter regulation. I've talked about calm dogs. We've put so many clients' dogs that have aggression and reactivity on the Calm Dog supplement. We've taken dogs off of Prozac. Now, some dogs need medication. Not every supplement is going to help every dog. But training and behavior modification alone doesn't always help. Dog owners that use Calm Dogs report that 98% of their dogs, they saw improvement after 6 weeks. After 6 weeks of use, 98% of dogs saw improvement. With just the Calm Dogs alone, the behavior improved 60% just by taking the supplement. Now, when we added behavior modification with Calm Dogs, the dog's behavior improved up to 87%. So you can see that when we get the brain health in line and we start doing the behavior modification, things start going a whole lot better. So I can't emphasize enough. I put my life's passion and my love into this supplement. I created it because there was nothing out there for my dog. You know, there's so many supplements out there that make all these claims, but they do nothing. They're a waste of money. And I didn't want my dog on Prozac. My dog wasn't that severe. But my dog had significant separation anxiety, was fearful and skittish of people and dogs, was fear aggressive. my dog is better today. Took me 5 years of my life figuring this out, putting this formula together. There's nothing like Calm Dogs. Check it out. All right. Then again, you can go to calmdogs.com to find that out. If you're looking for professional help, if you would like to also download the article on how to teach your dog to drop it, and if you'd like to download my article on how to teach your dog to leave it, you can go to my website at dogbehaviorist.com. Again, that's dogbehaviorist.com. Go to the article section. I've got dozens of great articles that talk all about these topics. As you know, I'm a certified behavior consultant. I do virtual behavior consultations throughout the world. I know a lot of people say, how do you do that virtually? Trust me, it works better than me actually being there in front of the dog. Most of the dogs I work with are scared to death. They're not going to let me near them anytime soon. Most of the dogs I work with are extremely aggressive. They're not going to let me near them anytime soon. And let's face it, folks, the training is about you. It's about teaching you what to do. It doesn't matter how well your dog does for me. I've got great success. We have been helping rehabilitating dogs with severe anxiety, fears, phobias, aggression, reactivity, noise sensitivity, you name it. Go to dogbehaviorist.com. Check out my website. Check out my articles. If you need to have some professional help, you can contact me there as well. Laura, hello from Massachusetts. Laura, thank you so much for being here. Let's see. Janice, hello. How have you been? Haven't seen you in a while. Wish my dog Slinky good luck this coming week. He's getting his teeth cleaned and they have to put him to sleep. Boy, I'll tell you what, Janice, my Schnauzer had to go in to get its teeth cleaned. My Schnauzer genetically has horrible teeth. I didn't realize this was a thing. The dog's going to be 3 years old. 6 teeth have been pulled, and it's not from tartar. It's not from dirty teeth. My dog's teeth are clean. There's some kind of a genetic problem with its gums, and the teeth are really loose in there. 6 teeth, not even 3 years old. Really was disappointing. Didn't know that dogs can have gum disease, and it can be genetic, and it can be bad. All right, let's see here. So, Diana, again, back with your Doberman. When you've got that kind of aggression, that's not something typically people are going to be able to handle on their own. They typically need to hire a professional. You can go to the Pet Talk Today audio podcast, whether you go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, Spotify. Look for episode 81. Episode 81 is the episode where I talk about counter conditioning and desensitization, which are the behavior modification tools of choice when it comes to taking dogs with anxiety, reactivity, fears, phobias, and aggression and helping them to relax and helping them get over that. That's episode 81 at the Pet Talk Today audio podcast. Episode 80 of the Pet Talk Today audio podcast goes through and talks in detail about clicker training, marker training, using markers in training, which is so critical in being able to have good timing and really communicate to your dog. And those of you that don't use clickers or don't use markers or don't use a marker training system, you are taking way more time than you need to. Things could be going a lot faster. It could be a lot more clear for your dog and a lot less stressful. So learn about marker training, learn about markers and training, marker systems, clicker training. Go to the Pet Talk Today audio podcast. Check out episode 80. Also, we get lots of people that have problems with potty training. Episode 16, 45 minutes on potty training, the absolute most difficult dogs and dog behaviors. Check that out. And do me a favor, if you love what we do, if you love our podcast and you're listening, give us a 5-star review. It's your reviews that let our rankings go higher. That allows more people to see what we're doing, and we can spread the good news and that there's hope for their dogs. Diana from Boston, Massachusetts, thank you for being here. Kathleen Stone says, where can we buy this? I'm assuming, Kathleen, you're talking about the Calm Dog supplement. You can either go to calmdogs.com or you can go to doganxiety.com. And right now there's a huge sale on the Calm Dogs product. Laura, hello from Massachusetts. Thank you for being here. I appreciate that. Let's see. I believe it's Rainy. My dog resource guards me. If he's sitting near me, he growls, barks, lunges at anyone that comes close. If I sit across away from him, he behaves and doesn't do that. Well, the first thing you need to do is avoid the trigger. Don't let your dog continue to rehearse that behavior. That just keeps getting conditioned over and over. You know, what you're telling me is that if you sit across the way, he behaves. How about teaching your dog to go to a bed, go to a spot, go to a towel, go to a place, an elevated dog cot, and stay there? Proactively teaching your dog how to do that. Start doing some distraction work, okay? If you go to my website at dogbehaviorist.com, go to the article section, look for the article on teaching place. Got a great article on how to teach a dog to go to the place. And that's at dogbehaviorist.com. Go to the menu into the article section. But your dog can't be committed to staying on place, which you can put at a distance from you, and having your dog growl at you when others are coming around. And that's the first step, stopping the behavior, not letting the dog continue to rehearse that behavior and to continue to have that reinforced. Because usually what happens when a dog starts to show any signs of aggression, whoever the dog is aggressing towards usually freezes or backs away. Whoever is responsible for the dog, the owner, when the dog starts aggressing, the owner usually get involved and pull the dog away. When the dog is aggressive, it wants distance and space. All aggression is about, hey, you're too close to me. I'm nervous. I need distance and space. If you keep coming closer, and if I don't get distance and space, I may bite you. And so when you, the owner, when your dog acts out aggressively and you remove the dog away from the situation, or when the dog acts out aggressively, the individual that it was aggressing towards freezes or moves away, that creates distance and space, which makes the dog feel less anxious, less pressure. That's negative reinforcement. Negative is a minus sign. It means removing something unpleasant. When your dog got moved away from the trigger, that's something scary or unpleasant went away or decreased. So therefore, that aggressive behavior becomes very functional because it allows a dog to get distance and space. So the first thing we have to do, it's not the fix. Said it many times, but it's the first step to the fix. And that is, we must avoid the triggers. You know, if you're a plumber and somebody calls you out because there's a busted water pipe, before you begin to work on that water pipe, before you can do the fix, you've got to completely turn off the main water supply, the main water source. How in the world are we going to fix this broken pipe if we don't turn off the water? Well, avoiding the triggers that your dog has is turning off the water. We have to proactively do the work in a very unique way. It usually requires help from a professional. Hopefully you're getting a lot out of these podcasts. And hey, if you like what I do, hit that like button, hit that share button. Let more people know about it. If you have tried some of the suggestions that I've given you throughout the weeks and months and years. I'd love to hear back from you. When I get emails, when I get comments, it warms my heart. Because you know what the number one cause of death is for dogs under the age of 3? Behavioral euthanasia. Behavioral euthanasia, because somebody could not deal with the behavior problems. And that is just very, 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 very sad. Oh, yeah. So one of the other things that I wanted to, let's see. Got another question from Rainey. She says, my dog pulls on my sleeve, and when I move him to claim my space, he thinks I'm playing and comes at me more and nips a bit at time. How do I get him to stop doing that? When your dog engages with that, freeze like a tree. Don't give any attention. Your dog will stop. Then you can start moving slowly again. If your dog starts back into that behavior, stop and freeze like a tree. Take away what your dog wants, which is its attention. Once your dog calms down, you can start moving again. If your dog gets excited and does it again, stop. Freeze like a tree until your dog gets calm. Keep doing that. If you've done that for about 2 weeks and you're not having success, then I want you to change things up a bit. When your dog does that behavior, calmly, quietly, but quickly, take your dog to its crate. Put your dog in its crate for 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, if your dog is calm, let the dog out. If the dog gets excited again, back in the crate for 2 minutes. When the dog's calm, let the dog out. There's got to be some kind of a consequence. And most people, they're accidentally positively reinforcing those types of behaviors. Somebody's asking, Janice is saying, what's the best flea and tick stuff to use? You know, Janice, that's a medical question. I'm not a veterinarian. I can't give out really medical advice. I would advise you to consult with your veterinarian about that. Because I don't want to tell you something and it's not good for your dog. And then you come back at me and then I'm the bad guy. Let's see what else we have here. Bonnie, my hope is real protective of me to the point she snaps at husband getting into bed with me. Hope has her. Where did it go? I just lost your question here. Hope has her own bed on the floor. Human, when my grown son hugs me, she comes unglued. Have I done something to cause this? Bonnie, you've not done anything to cause this. Okay, these are abnormal behaviors. Your son probably has been wonderful to your dog. Your son hasn't abused your dog. Your husband has probably been wonderful to your dog, hasn't abused your dog. Again, we're talking about dogs that are looking at triggers in the external world where there's no real threat. It's being processed in their brain, and by the time it gets in their brain, they're misperceiving something as threatening. No animal goes into fight or flight unless they perceive something as threatening. But the problem here is there's no real threat. Okay? So again, part of the problem, not the entire problem, but part of the problem is neurochemical. And we know that dogs like yours have problems with too little serotonin. Now, in some cases, we might recommend medication. Prozac is one of the medications that's used, especially when it's a very, very, very severe case. But a lot of dogs are being helped by the Calm Dog supplement at calmdogs.com. I encourage you. It's got a money-back guarantee. I encourage you to try that. But that by itself is not going to fix the problem. You've got to do behavior modification. Like I said, with behavior modification, with the Calm Dog supplement, what we found in our studies is that 87% of dogs' behaviors improved. That's huge. And we're not talking about just nuisance behaviors like barking or jumping. We're talking about the big stuff: separation anxiety, fears, phobias, aggression, anxiety, resource guarding. Okay? So this stuff works. Give it 6 weeks. Give it as directed. Take the 45-day Calm Dog Challenge. I guarantee you your dog's going to change. If not, you contact us, you get your money back. But you've got to do counter conditioning. You've got to do gradual, systematic desensitization, Bonnie. And if you don't know about that, go to my website at dogbehaviorist.com. Go to the menu, go to the articles section, find the articles on counter conditioning and desensitization. Find the articles on canine body language. Also, go to the Pet Talk Today audio podcast. Download episode 81. Episode 81 is on counter conditioning and desensitization. Everything that you need to know about helping your dog with this aggression issue, with the resource guarding. And again, a lot of times this is difficult for people to do on their own. You may need some professional help. Find somebody that you trust and respect. If you'd like me to take a look at the situation and help you, you can always send me a message. Go to my website at dogbehaviorist.com. Again, that's dogbehaviorist.com. All right, going back to the questions here. Let's see what we've got. Well, I think what... so Precious, she's got a question. Why is my dog scratching a lot? No fleas? ? You know, my dogs are scratching a lot right now, too. I think there might be some seasonal allergies going on. My allergies have been up. I don't know if it's bad if your dog is scratching fur off or if there's hot spots or something like that. Consult with your veterinarian about that. But yeah, I gave my dog a half a Benadryl. I can't tell you that that's okay. I'm not a veterinarian. I can't give out medical advice. That's just something I did for my dog. It did help. Did that last night, as a matter of fact. Laura says, our new Shepherd Foster is so anxious. He paces, cries, and pants. How can I help him get comfortable? Well, I hate to keep this selfish plug, Laura, but the Calm Dogs supplement, which is going to help with the anxiety and the pacing and the crying and the panting, okay? Doesn't necessarily help right away. It's kind of like medications. It takes a while for it to build up. But Laura, in addition to the Calm Dog supplement or talking to your veterinarian about possible medication in conjunction with behavior modification, you too need to also go to the Pet Talk Today audio podcast, and you too need to download episode 81 on counter conditioning and desensitization. And that's a gradual process, but you've got to understand canine body language. You know, it's not as easy as, hey, let me expose my dog to a trigger and just start feeding food. There's a lot of trainers that do counter conditioning and desensitization wrong. They're putting a lot of time in, putting a lot of work in, putting a lot of effort into it, and they're not seeing much success. Easier said than done. But check out episode 81 of the Pet Talk Today podcast on counter conditioning and desensitization. Go to the dogbehaviorist.com website. Grab the article on counter conditioning and desensitization. Also, look for the article on canine body language. What you're going to find is that there's dozens of tiny, subtle signs that are barely noticeable that let you know that your dog is anxious, your dog is stressed. And a lot of times when we start to intervene, it's too late. We need to begin that process much earlier in their emotional state, okay? Because when it comes to these behaviors, it's really about an underlying emotional state that we need to change. Create different associations. Right now with these triggers, your dogs view these triggers as scary or something bad. Through counter conditioning, we're going to go ahead and pair something positive, something they really like, with that something that they were scared of. But we have to start at a distance that's so far away they can see the trigger, but internally, emotionally, they don't have a care in the world. And we begin to expose them at that distance, slowly, gradually, systematically, associating positive reinforcement with the trigger. Now, there's a lot more to it than that. The clients that I work with, that I coach on these specific tasks, these exercises, these behaviors, we're working together for anywhere between 3 to 6 months of work in order to have great success. Yeah, when they find me on dogbehaviorist.com, they all know this is not a quick fix. Quick fixes, they unfortunately don't work. It's like anything else in life. It works if you work it. It works if you put the work in. None of it's that difficult. It's a little time consuming. It's a little bit inconvenient, but it's worth it, especially, when you have a dog that's struggling, especially, the dog you love, when the dog is aggressive towards you. That's a horrible thing. Nothing worse than the dog you love who you take care of growling at you. And I've been there. I've done that. I got a dog for my son. I got a dog for my wife. In the first 5 months, the dog was scared of them and growled at them. Not anymore. They're best buddies. My dog takes the Calm Dog supplement, and we've done the behavior modification work. Bonnie says, husband low on serotonin. What the heck? Why not border collie? Oh, my goodness. Well, Bonnie, I said this for decades. Sorry, but I don't train husbands, wives, or kids. All men are dogs. Very few are trainable. Anyway, Precious Jones says, thank you. Well, thank you, Precious. I appreciate that. Laura says, I'll order some now. Well, thank you, Laura. We'll make sure that we get that out to you. Are the Calm Chews for temporary use while the dog improves with issues, or is it meant for long-term use? Here's the thing with the Calm Dog supplement, because we're really working on restoring neurotransmitter balance, and that doesn't happen overnight. You work with the supplement, you work with behavior modification, you get your dog in a great place for a year. Get a year of consistent behavior. When that happens, then you can slowly start to wean off the supplement. Some dogs, they're going to do just fine weaning off of it. Other dogs, you start weaning them off, and we start seeing problems start to creep back up, and we know that they're going to need to take it more long-term. But I can tell you that I've seen dogs that have been on it for 6 months, 12 months, a year, year and a half. They've done very, very well for a long period of time. Then they weaned them off of it, and they did just fine. But this is not a quick fix type thing. The Calm Dog supplement is not a sedative. It's not going to make your dog sleepy. That's not what we're looking for. This doesn't necessarily work immediately. We're making changes to brain chemistry. This is the most powerful supplement on the market that you can get without a prescription. Go to calmdogs.com. But again, no supplement, no pill, no medication is going to cure a dog, going to cure a problem. You need to do behavior modification. You need to be doing training along with that, and also making sure that your dogs are getting enough exercise, physically stimulating them. And what about their mental exercise, their mental stimulation? What are you doing for canine enrichment, keeping them from being bored? Most anxiety-ridden behaviors are due to dogs that have boredom. Do you guys know about canine enrichment? Do you understand different canine enrichment games and activities that you can do? Go to dogbehaviorist.com, my website. Go to the article section. Find the article on canine enrichment. There's a lot of do-it-yourself things that you can do, toys that you can make yourself, and it's a lot of fun. You get to have a lot of fun with your dogs, and I'll tell you what, it takes the boredom away and also helps to decrease their anxiety as well. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for today's show. I'd like to thank all of you for your questions. Please hit that like button. Please hit that share button. Please let others know about Pet Talk today. I'll be back next Saturday. Let people know all about if you've got friends that have dogs that have problems with anxiety and they can benefit from Calm Dogs, let them know as well. Hey, have a great weekend. Play with your dogs. Train with your dogs. Think about, rather than asking what I don't want my dog to do, what would I like my dog to do instead? And start teaching an alternative behavior that you can reward. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'm out of here.